glad I have you here with me. Today we're gonna dive deep into a topic that's really close to my heart: how to rebuild your life after divorce. I know firsthand how overwhelming and even terrifying this journey can feel. The uncertainty, the loneliness, fear of the unknown can be incredibly daunting. You might be asking yourself, how do I even begin to pick up the pieces? Where do I start from here? Will I ever be happy? These are all valid questions, and you're not alone. In this video, I'll explore some of the biggest challenges women go through when they are in their post-divorce life, including navigating the emotional roller coaster, rebuilding your finances, co-parenting effectively, finding your way back to happiness and fulfillment life. I'll share my own personal experiences and insights, and I'll also introduce you to a tool that I'm working on. It's a powerful framework that can help you navigate this transition with more clarity and confidence. I wish I had this framework when I was going through divorce because it feels so overwhelming, and this is why I'm building Welcome to Your Badass Era Toolkit. This toolkit is designed to be like a roadmap to a new and intentional chapter of your life. It will help you gain clarity, understand your priorities and value, regain control so that you can take actionable steps to rebuild your life, uncover your potential and your hidden desires that you've been bearing for a long time, build your confidence by finding out which skill gaps you have, and help you create a vision for your future and design a life that you love. This is a work in progress, so if you want to be one of the first people who test this toolkit, simply comment below toolkit and I will send you a link to download it. So grab your yerba mate and let's go. I went through divorce, and it took me 2 years to finally have the paper signed by the court, and it was 2 years of huge survival mode. It was so tough. It was the toughest thing I went through, and I found that the other struggle that I had once I was finished with my divorce is that I had a whole new life, all of a sudden, a new chapter, and I felt like there's a void of what to do next. How do I feel this emptiness? And I don't mean that it's empty, because I feel like it was a blessing to have been able to finally get away from a relationship, but also I had finally discovered that I have a new life, that it's scary to be all on your own. And I had a 5-year-old then, and now she's 7 years old, and I had to take care of her by myself. And my situation was more complex because I had my whole life entangled with my ex-husbands. We lived together in a different country than where I grew up, where all my family is, so I didn't have that support. And we just moved to New York, to Brooklyn, a year before we broke up from California, so I didn't know anyone long enough to have these safety nets. So I was forced to be isolated. And also, it was right after COVID when we moved to New York, and I had to close my business because of COVID, and I had to shut down and start over. So I found myself with a separation, without a job, without an idea for a business, because we were supposed to do a new business together in New York, without family, without knowing any friends or anyone, and with a 5-year-old, have to take care for her by myself. So I was scared for my financials. I didn't know how I'm gonna get by in the most expensive, maybe not the most expensive, but one of the most expensive cities in the world. And I had to figure that out. So I had to also start a whole new life for myself. It's not like I could go back to the office and life as usual. I had to reinvent myself. And reinvent yourself is kind of a skill, and it's really hard, even if you do it over and over again. And this wasn't the first time I had to reinvent myself. I had to do it when we first moved to California. I had to do it after I had my daughter. My whole priorities changed after I had my baby. So I had to reinvent my business again. And then with COVID, I had to shut down my business, and I had to start over a new business. And then after this divorce, I had to also start over. In the beginning, you need a lot of help and support by legal stuff, lawyers and stuff like that. I'm not a lawyer, and every state has different laws, and it's really complicated, and it's a very delicate and complex situation for each of you. But what happens after that? You're done. You have the contract signed, and now you're off to your new life. How do you do it? How do you go back to building a whole new life for yourself? What tools do you need to get back there? For me, it was starting a whole new career in a different skill that I had. It was going to a new place and starting a new life, finding new friends, finding an apartment, getting this apartment ready. It was about how to raise my child now in a different world, a different family setting. So many things that you have to learn, adjust, adapt, and be flexible and start again. So if you can comment below and tell me what are the biggest challenges after you're finalizing the contract with the lawyers and all of that. How do you do the next step? How do you get your life back together? How do you make new friends? A lot of times after we get a divorce, or while we're having on our divorce process, we have a lot of friends just disappear on you, and they abandon you when you actually need them the most. And then you are left not only having to go through this divorce by yourself, without the help and the support of people that you thought you're going to be able to count on, but also you're having to grieve the loss of decade-long friendships sometimes. So how do you do that? How do you find new friendships when you're late 20, 30, 35, 40, even 50? It's harder and harder. How do you find new hobbies or going back to old hobbies? I actually went back to social dancing after my separation, and that was wonderful because I got to also meet people and make a little social circle, and also going back to something that I love doing, and being in this relationship didn't really allow me to explore that and be part of that community. My purpose here is to get to as many women that are resilient, because I think everyone that went through this really tough process of getting divorced are women that are stronger than ever. They come out of it the other side with powers that they didn't even know they have, and they are super resilient, and they can build a whole new chapter that is much better than the chapter before, and maybe the best chapter of their life yet. So what are some tools and what resources are missing in that time frame of trying to build a new chapter, of trying to be in the process of rebuilding? And I really invite you to take a part of this new community that I'm starting and follow this new TikTok channel that I started. I also opened a YouTube page with the same name, and I'm repurposing my TikToks there. But I also decided I'm gonna do some longer YouTube posts on YouTube that would be more of a tutorial about how to do certain things. So for example, I posted about how to set goals for your next year, and I teach how my system of how to create the New Year's goals and how to reverse engineer that in order to be able to thrive within these new chapter. You have to kind of balance the personal and professional stuff, and it's really hard sometimes to prioritize that. So I want to help build these systems to be able to do the planning so that it's easier to execute, and also feel encouraged during that time. I know that because I have some anxiety, and I feel like even though I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I always feel like something, maybe I'm not doing right, maybe I have to do it differently, maybe I haven't done enough, maybe I have to be somewhere else doing something else, and I'm always self-doubting. So this system is really help me to focus on the most important things, and part of that is inspired by a book called Essentialism, and it talks about how a lot of times put a lot of effort on the wrong place, the wrong things, and how we can do a lot of the things that we want to do to improve our lives if we can just focus on the essential things and learn to say no to things that are less important. And it is hard for us, more for women, to be able to take better care of ourselves, because we have to maybe not take care of other people's priorities and put our priorities first. So I want to embrace this essentialism principles into how to plan your next chapter. Whenever I am facing a new system or something, that course or something to my life, what I'm lacking the most is it's a little bit overwhelming, because it is kind of forcing me into doing something new and adding something to my plate. And my plate is pretty full, and I'm feeling like I cannot add something extra to my plate right now. And having that self-improvement, whatever protocol, skill, whatever that they teach, I don't feel like I can take it on, because I cannot add anything on my plate right now at the moment. So what I'm looking to create is something that, instead of giving you more things to do, it will provide a really simple framework to eliminate things off of your plate so that you can actually do less. And I think this is what we are missing most: how to do less things and not learn how you can do more and more, because we have that everywhere. But how do we just clear the things that are not needed so that we can use our time to do the things that are actually important? Like I wanted to say be with our families and that, but also as a single mom, I have to admit that sometimes being with my daughter is the hardest job. And it's not a job. A mom, it's not a job, but it also feels like a second job when you are your own if self-employed and you're also a single mom. You are starting off your day in your one role, and then you end your day with another second job. And honestly, being a mom is the hardest job out of the two. And it's not that I don't love my daughter, because I love her, but she's intense and she needs a lot of attention. And for me, for my personality type, it's a lot harder to be with a 7-year-old then to do my work that is much more fulfilling, is much more on my own terms, and much less caring for someone else, which is so hard because caring for someone and putting their needs before yours is the emotional labor that is much harder than just creative vibe and doing something that you want to do, because it's about doing things that you really don't want to do a lot of the times. Cooking dinners, even if you're not hungry, and helping with whatever homework. My daughter had her ears pierced a couple weeks ago and it got infected, everything that had to do with her ear, and that is not my favorite thing. So what I'm saying is that when I want to free up time and energy, it's not necessarily to have more time to spend as a parent, because I think this would sometimes miss what I'm trying to achieve. But I want to just be able to take a little step back and not be in a hurry and do things and enjoy the moment and do things from an enjoyment kind of way. And this is only possible if I don't feel overwhelmed. And in order to not feel overwhelmed, we have to cut the things that we're not really needing to do. And we can't prioritize something without deprioritize something else. So I'm talking about the time after divorce that we're building a new life, a new chapter, and how to create this chapter as the best chapter you get. What are the challenges and questions and things that are most urgent during that time of rebuilding and starting over? Sometimes it's just starting over with relationship wise, and sometimes it's a bigger change, like a whole life changing thing. Sometimes there are kids involved and sometimes there are not. Sometimes I even see that couples that are splitting up and they have a dog or a cat, they are trying to figure out what to do with their pet, and this is a huge kind of stressor. And sometimes it's a whole new reconfiguration of a life that involves your whole relationships, friends, communities, location, job, and everything in between. What are the most urgent issues that you want to figure out in this time frame? And I think they say that it takes half of the time of your relationship that you ended to go back to your normal. So if you had a 5-year marriage and it's going to take 2 to 2.5 years to go back to normal, for me it was 9 years. And right now at 3 years after my separation, and I can say that as much as it is a lot better than it used to be a year ago, 2 years ago, of course, I still am not there yet. I don't feel like my whole life is still back to its course. So it's a long journey a lot of the times. And part of the reasons for that is that it can be simpler or more complex depending on your situation and how many big changes you had to go through this time frame at the same time. And for me, it was overwhelming because I had a lot of, like, my whole world was coming down with this relationship. I had to start a new career, I had to move to a new place, I had to have new friends, I didn't have family around, I had to figure out everything from scratch, and it was really overwhelming, and also had some health issues that I had to take care of. And I'm just now recovering from a preventative surgery. So all of that together was really overwhelming, and part of the reason why it takes so long. And I'm trying during that time to kind of give grace for myself and remember that when you are encountering this kind of a major change, it takes time and it's okay. But also I want to grow and I want to be in a really better place. And sometimes I don't have patience to get there, and I'm getting frustrated from not being able to get to my goals faster. And right now, for example, I had to work on my 2025 goals, and January is almost done, and I'm working on monthly and quarterly setting, and it's really hard for me to feel day to day. It feels like things are moving really slowly, specifically because I am self-employed. I'm trying to build a new business from scratch, and I used to have a personal chef business, which I had to close with COVID, and then I started learning a whole new skill set afterwards, and now I'm in content creation and marketing, and it's a journey, but also I have to give grace to myself because I know that it takes so long to start a new career, even if your rest of your life is peaceful and calm and supportive. But if you're going through a major life shift and you have to build a new career at the same time and move to a new country, it's triple the challenge. So this is where I'm right now. Things are getting better slowly, but I'm looking for creating this community of resilient women who are going through this rebuilding of their new chapter. And I'm calling out for women to follow me here and comment with any of the biggest challenges, questions, and issues that you might encounter during this time of trying to rebuild. What are your hurdles in relationships? For example, dating. I go on a lot of Facebook groups and I'm seeing a lot of divorced and going through divorced women and how they are challenged with going on dates after. And I have been on the app after I got separated for a while. I think it's a whole new world now, especially because I got married 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, the world of dating was different, and jumping back into the pool after 10 years and being in my late 30s, it's a whole other world. A lot of women are writing about how challenging this world is, and it's true, it's really challenging. It's amusing too, and it's frustrating, and that's a lot of that I have experienced firsthand. And another type of challenges that I know that are out there are for women who separated because they found out that they are more attracted to women or bisexual. I myself am pansexual, and after I got separated from my ex-husband, I not only went back to dating in my late 30s after not being in the dating pool for more than a decade, but also I started dating women for the first time in my life. And that was really interesting because it was like my first experiences of dating women and men from dating apps and finding out how different that is. And that was actually quite amusing. So I did find a lot of communities for women who came out of marriage with straight men just to find out, or because they found out that they are attracted to women, and being a late bloomer and all the challenges that comes with that are also really interesting to encounter, especially later in life. And right now, for example, I joined a queer group in my neighborhood to go back to that community, but I'm finding out I don't feel belongingness to this group because they are all lesbians, and knowing that from whenever they're really young, and me as a bisexual, pansexual late bloomer, I don't find the same common ground with them. So this is one challenge that I've been having to kind of find where I belong. And also, a lot of times there are kids involved and all the challenges that comes with having kids while getting a divorce. I had to find how I'm gonna get to dating and all that with a kid at home, which I have to find a sitter if I want to go on any dates or have a social life. And that was really hard because I felt like I can't leave the house. And even if I did go out a little bit, if you want to have this continuation, you have to do it all over again. And it's getting super expensive all of a sudden. Her dad would come to visit for a while, and I had, I don't know, a few nights off. I would go on dates, and then I would have to figure out how to continue that, try to go on other dates, second dates, and all that, because relationships, even friendship relationships, have to be nurtured, and you have to continue them and meet in a kind of a certain frequency so that you keep those connections. And it's a lot of energy, a lot of times, and a lot of time to invest. And it's a lot of babysitting fees that you have to pay, and all the logistics behind that, and trying to keep your kid from being really sad when you leave, and finding the right person that was really a big challenge for me as well. So that's another type of challenge. Another type of challenge is a new place. I had to move to close to my family because it was really tough for me. For 2 years after my separation, I was living far from them, and it was really hard to do a big move. I moved to another country to be close to my family, and being far, doing a huge move like that has a lot of challenges. It has learning a new place, culture, learning about where your new surroundings, where everything is, and how do you get around. I decided to get a bike and find out how I'm getting by with a bike, but then I had to carry my kid in the back because there's not a lot of parking here, so there's a lot of complication just to get by, and learn how to do, where do you get grocery shopping, what's the best shopping around, how do you do that. There's all that, finding new friends in your new place. Thankfully, I have my family here close, and they are huge help, so that has been the reason for me to move this far. But some women, after they get divorced, they have to move to cheaper, more affordable area, because most women's financial state after their divorce is way worse, and they have to take a second job, or they have to move to a smaller place or to cheaper neighborhood. And with that move, there are new challenges. So I said there's dating, there's kids, there's new place, and with kids there's a bunch of other challenges as well. How do you communicate this separation with your kids? How do you tell them about your new situation when you're dating, and they have some hope that you're going to get back with your ex at some point. My daughter didn't understand why we're not living together anymore. Your kids might have some issues that has to do with parent separation. Kids can react in different ways. My daughter had a lot of sleep issues that were just now kind of getting back to normal with that, but she used to go to sleep in my bed for forever, like 3 years now. So we're getting back to normal, but this was a really big challenge. A lot of the times with the separation, there is another woman to your ex, and this is really common because a lot of times the men would leave only when they have a new partner lined up for them, because they don't want to continue this relationship until they know they have someone else to be there for them, because men profit from having a female partner so much. And I see a lot of women that struggle with how to balance that, and sometimes their kids like to go to this other house and they like the other woman and they feel like small and unattractive and all that. This is hard. This is a lot of challenges that have to do with other relationships of their exes. Thank you so much you've been here for such a long time. I'm talking and talking. Anyway, thanks for listening in, and make sure to follow me, please, so that you're not going to lose touch.